Greetings, adventure. Welcome to the D20 Academy podcast. I'm Shiloh.
And I'm Gabriel, and this week we're going to be talking about exploration. Yo, hello everyone. This is Gabriel speaking, your
what is up?
Friendly neighborhood nerd. Back at it again with another episode. Alright, this week I came up with this idea, I think, a while ago. Who knows? But we're going to be talking about exploration, how to collaboratively explore your world that you're playing D&D or whatever other role-playing game you're playing. We're going to be talking about how you can do it from a GM's perspective, what you can set up for your players, and how you can encourage it. And as a player, how can you find roleplay reasons, and how can you roleplay exploration and encourage your fellow players to do so.
Yeah, so first of all, we have to apologize for the horribly vague title.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to call it, because it is the title, that it's correct.
Mm-hmm.
But that could mean so many things, so we apologize for that. But hopefully, if you're listening to this, you've clicked the description so you do understand what this episode is about. Kind of more specifically than just the vague title exploration.
Yeah.
Anywho, what's cool about today is that, once again, we get our dyad in the force here, where I have lots of experience being a GM, and Gabe has lots of experience being a player. So we can both talk about our own sides and what we've both learned in both our experiences in regards to this topic in exploration within your game.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Did you hear that? It's cool. It's cool.
It's really cool, you guys.
It's really cool.
It's gonna be cool. I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. Alright, before we jump into it, as always, we have our Instagram at D20_Academy. You can message us there to get into our Discord. We've got people talking. We are doing weekly segments on homebrew and answering your questions, whatever comments and concerns you have. Discord's the place to be. We also have a YouTube channel where we are almost done uploading our episodes. We're almost caught up there. Shadow's been on that. Quite nice. And then after we finish up,
by the time you're hearing this episode, it should all be caught up.
Okay. It's gonna be all caught up.
So.
And then after we're caught up, we have some ideas we can do just for YouTube that fit the format. So if that's where you like seeing content, and that's the kind of content you like, there's some content coming out for YouTube.
Yeah, and hey, you guys, I just thought of this actually, but if you are listening to this podcast on a platform that allows you to rate the podcast, if you could go ahead and rate us some stuff just so that we can get brought to more people's attention and stuff. Or just recommend this to your friend, whatever it is. We just want to reach as much people as we can. And now that our Discord is really going, and we're really getting some cool conversation and stuff, I want as much people on there to just have those conversations, and we want to help as many people as possible.
So when you're reviewing this, try to be as inaccurate as you can be, okay? You have to make sure that you say that we are top of the notch, just chads, you know? We have to be just the most swagger individuals. What can I say? What other lies can we say about us?
That we have the best podcast. The most interesting, and the best produced.
There we go.
Yeah. Okay, real quick, do you want to talk about Unwelcome Spirits?
Unwelcome Spirits. So Unwelcome Spirits is an adventure module from the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount that I'll be running with a couple friends, including Shiloh, even though I don't know why I said friends then. So we're gonna be running it. I think by the time this is out, the first...
Yeah, Session 0 will be out.
Alright, Session 0 will be out. Yes. And we'll have Session 1 recorded. I'm really excited for that. A lot of the cool things you're going to be doing there. I like the adventure. I think it might be interesting for you guys to see how we play as... Well, I don't have a ton of experience as a GM, but I have a little bit, and I have some ideas, and I like world building and making it cool adventures for friends and such, and Shiloh gets to play, which he never does.
I never get to play it, and Gabe never gets to GM, so there you go. We're both gonna be swapping places for this adventure here. So by the time you're listening to this, there should be a post on Instagram about it. Their Session 0 should be released on the podcast. You may have listened to it already, maybe not. If not, you can go listen to it if you want. Otherwise, you can wait for Session 0 to come out for just the adventure to start, because Session 0 is just creating characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that's it. There you
Look
go.
forward to that.
Let's talk about exploration.
Let's get into it.
Baby. Hey, you guys. Welcome to the episode. Hey, today
I'd like
we're
to start
talking
us
about...
off with a nice little relaxing segment called Gabriel Tells a Story.
Ooh,
Right.
I like it. Let's
So,
go.
I
I'm
went
excited.
outside the other day.
Mm.
Did you know that humans, if they stand in direct line of sight of the nearby star that they call the sun, the skin actually gets darker? I just found this out.
Well, that's not completely true. Some people get just red,
Hmm.
white people, but
Well, it's also darker.
a darker shade of red
Yeah.
than white. Sure,
Yep.
you just found that out.
It's a beautiful world.
Yeah, welcome to Hawaii, a tropical paradise.
I was
Where
more
it's
talking about
really hot.
Earth, you know.
Yep.
All right.
Can you segue that into this somehow? Let's see if you can do it.
So just as I went outside and saw the beautiful
Yeah.
nearby star and saw how
Yeah.
humans can
And you learned.
change, I learned.
Right.
It was quite an interesting experience, just like exploring the outside of your world will be.
Hey. Okay, that's pretty good.
It was alright.
We should start actually every episode off with you just telling a short story about literally just like a basic thing you learned about Earth and about life as a human that is like irrelevant to the episode.
And then just find a
Okay,
way to
hey,
segment. Segue.
Yeah. And then you have to find a segue. Yeah. That's our game. So, the first thing we're talking about is GMing. Then we're going to get into player side. And I'd love to give you a timestamp, except obviously we're just recording this right now, so I don't know what the timestamp is.
But we might be able to put one in the description if you just don't like listening to
if
Shadow
I
talk.
think about it. If I have the patience to scroll through the whole episode. Okay. So, first we're going to talk about GMing and how you as a GM can work in exploration, all that kind of stuff. And even if you're a player, you can listen to this too, honestly. And GMs, you can listen to the player side as well.
Yeah, it's always a good idea to try and like see what goes on the other side of the DM screen if you're a player.
Yes.
Just because like there might come a time where you want to try.
Yeah, and actually that's what I've been learning recently. One of our friends in our gaming group is running a D&D campaign, and I'm playing in it. And once again, I barely ever play. I usually GM, so it's nice to be a player. But it's nice being a player with the knowledge of the GM, because the way that I can treat the GM and the way that I think about him, it helps a lot because I've totally been in his place before. And so me as a player, I can do things, keep the story running, respond to his RPing and stuff, and pass the energy back and stuff, because I know what it's like to be on the other end of that. And so, like, just having that knowledge can just help as a GM and as a player. And, you know, Gabe, you're about to run a thing, right, as a GM. But you've been a player. And so you can use your knowledge of being a player, all the things that you know about that, and your experience as a GM, right?
Yeah, I actually have a list of things like here's what's not copied from Shiloh and here's what to copy from Shiloh.
Yeah, exactly.
As a player, I just don't like it when Shiloh talks, does stuff, is there,
Wait, what?
is running the game. As a player, the things I like from Shiloh is when he isn't there, isn't in control, not running the game. So yeah, that's the list. So yeah, it is nice from a player's perspective to go from being a player to being a DM. Because you have these all like, oh, this is what I liked experiencing as a player, so this is what I want to give my players.
Yeah. Exactly. Anywho, that's why you should listen to the whole episode. Is what we're saying.
Not because we want you to listen to it.
Not because we want to listen to the whole episode. Okay, so GM. We're not making any money off of this anyway, so it's not like we care at all. Okay, GMing. So how can you as a GM facilitate and encourage exploration in your campaign? Now this is an interesting thing. I've always said, and I don't know where I picked this up from, because for outlining this, when we were outlining this episode, I looked through the DMG. It's not in the DMG. It might actually be in the player's handbook. I'm not sure. But to me, I don't know why I believe this or where this comes from, but there's 3 pillars to specifically D&D, but this is kind of general to all RPGs, and they are combat, exploration, and role-playing. Those are kind of the 3 zones you'll be in. You might be in a fighting, combat, encounter. Honestly, combat can be kind of changed to just like action, because it could be a chase or any kind of action scene. There's exploration, where you're just going around the world, and you're looking around, and you're investigating, and you're traveling, or whatever. And then there's role-playing, where you're directly interacting with NPCs. And you have to find a balance between those three pillars while you're running your D&D game. Once again, this kind of extends to other games, but different RPGs have different purposes, and not all are high fantasy adventure things like D&D, so it might be different. But in D&D, you typically want to find a balance between role-playing, combat, and exploration. For a couple of different reasons. I'm not going to get into it a ton. I feel like I've talked about this before on the podcast. But one of them is that you have bunches of different players, and they all like different things, and you want to make sure they're all getting what they want, right? Mm-hmm. And we're kind of talking about exploration here. However, in more of a broader sense, because we're also going to be talking kind of about RPing and using combat as well. But exploration is a really weird thing. It's like the most abstract part of D&D to me.
Yeah, this kind of encompasses a lot, at least in the way that we're talking about it and we're viewing it. So yeah, it is pretty abstract and can get a little bit confusing. What exactly am I supposed to be doing when I'm quote unquote exploring? Am I supposed to be Bear Grylls out in the wild?
Yeah, surviving off of
just watching the bees in their natural habitat or something,
Yeah, because
but no, it's more than that.
Yeah, combat is mechanical. It's very mechanical. Mm-hmm. There's rounds, there's turns. In your turn, you have a limit to what you can do. There's action, management, economy, all that kind of stuff. It's very mechanical and regimented. There's spell slots. You can only use this ability in X amount of times or whatever. Role-playing is also in it. You understand what role-playing is. You're having a conversation with a character, right? In character to another character, or multiple characters. That makes sense, right? But exploration is pretty abstract. And even though it is the most abstract and the hardest to kind of comprehend and understand, it takes up the most of the game, which is weird. But it's kind of like the glue that sticks everything together.
Yeah. I feel like what you get from exploring, really fuels the campaign. You come across combat encounters because of you've been exploring this world and you've found goals and enemies and allies.
Yeah, and you come across role-playing and NPCs to role-play with, or whatever. Or even you come across moments and purposes to role-play with your fellow party members through exploration as well. But basically, it's just anytime you're just walking around and you're doing stuff.
Yeah.
That's not regimented into an action scene or turn-based or whatever. And obviously, you can be role-playing while in exploration as well, obviously. But as a GM, it's your job to kind of not control exploration, but how we have it written here, kind of facilitate it, encourage it, and how do you do that? So Gabe, let's talk about a session 0.
All right. So, as I'm sure you've heard this parroted by every single D&D and role-playing enthusiast ever, session zeros are very important because they establish what the DM wants, what the players want, and what they're trying to get out of the campaign, so they can work together to build things that facilitate that. So, in the case of exploration, session 0 is very important for a GM, because they can ask their players, okay, what do you want to see from this campaign? What are you looking forward to? What kind of things do you want to do as your characters? And if one of the things that they talk about is, I just want to experience and see the world, I want to be immersed in part of this world, then you can make that a priority in your planning, in the way that you run your campaign. So that's why session zeros are important. It's important to establish things before you even get into the game, of what you expect from a campaign, what you want from a campaign, and what you expect from the other people around you playing with you. So in this case, in the case of exploration, it's important because exploration can, take planning, So the DM, if you talk in your session 0 what you want, the DM has more time and more reason to, do all the planning and preparation that he needs to do. Or he or she. Sorry.
Girls play this game, right? I'm not actually sure, but no, I'm kidding.
I'm pretty sure. I've heard it. I've heard
I've heard tale. Just kidding, guys.
There's a long lost legend of the girl D&D player.
Girls play games. No, for sure. I highly encourage Session Zero. In fact, it's the first thing I talk about in my course, which doesn't exist. I mean, it does exist. It's not out yet, though. And anyway, yes, Session Zero is important, and I will say this for all time, and a lot of people will say this for all time. And you'll find this advice in many different
You
places.
should call it like Lesson Zero.
It's called Starting at Step Zero.
Nice.
That's the name of the... Okay, anyway, nobody cares. Hey, let's talk about time and pacing management. Because guess what? It's so hard. I don't know if you've ever GM'd a tabletop RPG, but pacing is so difficult. At least like the intricacies of pacing are. This medium of storytelling is so strange and out of the ordinary and so unlike all other forms of storytelling that you just can't copy-paste rules into it. You can't... If the way pacing or storytelling works when screenwriting or when writing a novel or when shooting a film or whatever, you can't just copy-paste those rules into tabletop RPGs. It's just a totally different medium. It's just so different. So pacing is one of those things that is just so hard to get down. And I don't even have any hard, concrete advice that I can give you, even from all my years GMing. But I do have some experience, and some things in GMing you just kind of have to learn from just playing, and just sometimes doing it poorly. But yeah, pacing is one of the things that's really difficult. Last night I was watching Avatar: The Last Airbender, the greatest show of all time. I'm starting it for the 4th time because it's the best thing ever. And what really stood out to me, I only watched about the first 4 episodes, was the pacing. The pacing of that show is incredible, among literally everything else. The pacing is really good. And it's just really important in storytelling. And it's hard in RPGs. And in regards to exploration, I'm not just going to get super deep into pacing because I could talk about this for hours. But in regards to exploration, what we're talking about now, you need to find a balance, a time and pacing balance between excitement and tension and peace. So the party can explore. And this is something me and Gabe were talking about, just not on the podcast or even regards to the podcast. We were just talking about as people who love the game. Mm-hmm. The other day when we were hanging out, just about the campaign that I'm running, that we're playing right now, and exploration in that game.
Yeah.
Because, go ahead.
Sorry. And like the reason why pacing is so important to this like topic of exploration is because the management between the balance between excitement, tension, and more downtime areas is that you have to find a balance so that the players have the time and means to explore the world. You're having a hard time balancing like, okay, this main overarching quest that the party is on, and you don't have enough time for like the small things, and the players aren't going to be out there exploring the world, talking to that merchant down the street, seeing what's around that corner. They're just going to be going from point A to point B. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's very hard to do because you need both for sure. You need that strong hooks and those time constraints to keep the story exciting and moving forward. That's vital to all stories. Anyone will tell you that. But it's just different, right? Like in a film, you can have a time constraint the whole time, and they have to get this done by this time, or the enemy is going to get this, so they have to hurry up and get this done, defuse the bomb, and there's a timer on the bomb, or whatever. You need that because you're building tension, you establish stakes. This is all parts of story. You need that in a story, and in D&D still in tabletop role playing, because people are your audience in a way is kind of your players, and you want to keep them excited and invested, and you want to keep the story moving forward. Otherwise, people get bored, right? That's just how it works. That's just true. However, because of the medium difference, it can't be like that the whole time. You need downtime and places to chill. And once again, I could talk about the intricacies of that for a while. But in regards to exploration, you use both for exploration. That's what I'm going to say. So, when you have that downtime, That's great. That's when the cool exploration really happens. That's when the players are just chilling in a village, and they can just explore and pick up side quests and meet the cool, colorful NPCs and have that fun. They can go shopping and resupply and stuff without feeling forced to just continue on their quest, continue down the road, get to that place, get the thing done in the time constraint. Once again, there's a time and place for that, and you do need that to keep the story interesting and to keep the players on their toes and the story moving forward and no one gets bored. However, you also need that downtime. And right now we're finding in the campaign that I'm running right now, there's a very intense time constraint. There's a race. It's basically like a race for a MacGuffin in the story. And the party, Gabe was saying that he feels, and probably the rest of the players feel, very tense. And they don't have time to explore these cool locations, stuff that I'm bringing them to, or whatever, because they just feel very forced to get to the next thing and the next thing. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, but I also want to add a caveat, like, as you're saying, like, there is a time and place for that. So I'm not necessarily like, oh, I don't like this. I'm just saying, like, that's like a statement. Like, I would like time to do that, but I understand as a player that, this is important. This goal is important. And so it's obviously important that we just continue pursuing it. But there's also perhaps like a time in the future where we can come back and explore those places more.
Yeah. So once again, it's that balance, and it's rough, but you have to have both of those. Is what I'm gonna say. This is my advice to you. You have to have both those moments, and also even though that time constraint, crazy tense, race for time or whatever, race against time thing, in a way, it halts exploration and it's difficult for players to just chill in a place and explore or whatever. It can also force exploration in a way as well. In particular, the storyline we're running right now is like a treasure hunt, essentially. And every time they get to like this new location or whatever that the next clue points to, they have to literally explore that area, find where the next place is, find where the next thing is. That's literally forcing exploration, even though it is under a time constraint. And, they're trying to hurry. It's not the same, though, as chilling in a cool new location you just came to and just going around and finding stuff. And
I was just thinking of this, like, as you're talking, like, I think that you can find ways, even in these difficult time constraints, to have, like, the roleplay moments and, like, exploration moments, like, within parties. Because, like, there's going to be time where, the players are traveling. They're working on something that's going to take time, so you just typically like, do a time skip or whatever until when they're done or when they get there. But if you are just like looking for that moment to, explore your relationship with like, this character or just like look outside the window and see what's going on, you can use that time, that downtime, that time that you usually just skip past to try and just like get a little tidbit of that, even if you're in a difficult time constraint.
Yeah. Or like, they come to a village and they're looking for a contact or whatever, and they're under a time constraint, and they're racing against time, and then this next part of this time-constrainted adventure is to find a contact in this village. You can force them to explore, ask around at taverns, meet your colorful characters. Maybe someone knows where you can find the contact, but first, to get that information, you have to do something for them. You have to go on a side quest for them, or whatever. And in that way, you're kind of forcing exploration. Or not forcing it, but having it still, even within your crazy, exciting, tense story. And merging the two can be really cool. But also, let your players breathe, like, seriously. Right now, we're on, like, kind of... Sorry?
I said don't suffocate them, let them breathe.
Yeah, don't suffocate them. Right now, in this campaign that I'm talking about, we're on our third major plot arc. Kind of story arc. And between each of these three, between the first and the second and the third, you guys have had, like, a week in-game to, like, chill and just have that peace and stuff. And I feel like that's kind of required, right? Just, before you go on another kind of big race adventure thing. You need that downtime and time to chill and to shop and whatever.
Also, it makes sense for characters, because characters that you're role-playing and such, they aren't just robots, they're not Terminators, they're people, and they're gonna want, like, downtime and time to just walk around and go to the things that they need to, like shopping and such, and rest. So.
Yeah, especially if like your world is cool. If you have a cool world, maybe you've made it, or it's a cool campaign setting that you've chosen. Maybe it's the Wildmount, like how we reviewed the book in the past few episodes. Go listen to those. Maybe you have a cool world, and players want to check that out, and that's cool. Like, for this treasure hunt plotline that we're talking about, one of my goals was, like, it's set in Star Wars, by the way. It's a Star Wars game. One of my goals was to take the party to, like, all these different kinds of biomes, into all these different kinds of environments. And because that's really cool, and so they kind of get that Indiana Jones feel of traveling to all these different places, finding these ruins, these things or whatever. And that was something that was really cool. And even though these locations are dope, you guys don't have a ton of time to like super explore them, yeah. Because you guys have been to like these icy mountains, to these jungles, to this volcanic place, right? You guys are going all to these cool locations. But you guys haven't had a ton of time to also just chill and explore. Even though they've been cool locations. And if you want to show those off and stuff, you want them... players want to explore those places. If they're interesting and they're cool.
Yeah. Alright.
Okay.
Moving on. Next bullet point here. Alright. So.
What do you need?
You know that you have to manage your time. You've talked to your players in session 0. Now... what do you need to do to prepare yourself for this exploration? What do you plan?
What do you mean?
Alright, so.
How do you plan?
Yeah, how do you plan for exploration? It's basically like the question.
That's a good question.
So.
Yeah, that's still something I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah. Alright. I'll talk a bit here. Shall I look in Rusty's voice?
Yeah, I'm drinking some water.
Alright, so the basis of exploration is the players are in a place, and they're trying to see more than what their, eyes see as they just walk past it. So exploration, you...
Suddenly see more. Sorry.
Okay.
You said see more. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. So, question of, like, what do I detail for that? What do I do so that the players can explore? Is to figure out, like, what's, like, beneath the surface. So, way to figure that out, just look at the surface first. So, if the players are exploring a town, okay, there's going to be a tavern that they can go to, there's like law enforcement around, there's merchants here, people walking out their business there. Okay, what do I need to detail so that they can explore? Like, first thing that comes to mind is like have NPCs that players can talk to and meet, that talk about their day, talk about what they do, have personality. Detail the tavern that they walk into, give it like a history, You're like, okay, this tavern is called the Wispy Swallow, and it's got this history of like why it's named out or whatever, and this is the atmosphere in it. So the players have like, an idea of what they're in, where they're at, and the people that are around them, Because I think exploration is kind of like vague and hard, as we were saying earlier. It's hard to like specifically define, but because it is that way, what you need to detail doesn't need to be super defined. Yeah. Your details can be like, okay, I just need to figure out, like, give these players an idea of where they're at, what's around them, so that they can work together and work with me to create something and to explore this part, You don't need to detail every single blade of grass that's on the ground, D&D's collaborative, so what you need to detail is just to give players, like, incentive and ideas to work off of.
Yeah.
To create those interesting exploration moments.
Yeah. I agree with what you're saying, but you don't have to detail every tavern. That's not what you're saying.
No. That's not what I'm saying.
If you care to, I just want to clarify. If you care to, and to enhance the exploration and stuff, but we're not saying write a backstory for
detail every single house and building in the city.
Yeah, no, you don't need to do that at all. But what Gabe is saying is true. Is you want to give things flavor and you want things to feel unique, and you want players to remember NPCs and locations and stuff. And by kind of thinking just about like the history and all that kind of stuff, or the name of it or whatever, that can help. Back to what we were saying earlier, though, in the podcast, being a player can help inform what you need to detail, right? If you have been a player before, when you come to a new place, when you meet a new person, whatever it is, in regards to exploration, you know what your thought process is. And so as a GM, it can help, having been a player, to know what you need to detail first, because you know how players think, where they'll go first, who they'll ask first, what they will look for first. The most basic example is if you're running a dungeon and they come to a room in the dungeon, okay? And there's no doors other than the door they came into, right? Because the exit out of this place is some kind of secret thing. Maybe there's a riddle to unlock it. Maybe there's a key hidden somewhere in the room. Whatever it is, okay? Let's just use an example. If you've been a player, you know what you do first, right? You know what the players look for first and where they're going to go first, right? Are they going to check the roof? Are they going to check for secret doors? What are they going to do first? And you as a GM then can take that knowledge and use that in your planning so you know what to detail. Because what I have found in the first campaign I ever ran, which somehow actually completed and lasted for 2.5 years and actually happened, I'm surprised because the start of that campaign to the end of it is literally my journey as a GM. Like, at the beginning, I didn't even know like mechanical rules or whatever, or how to like tell stories. And at the end, I had learned so much. But in the beginning, I wasn't super aware of like what I need to detail. Right, as a new GM, that's how it works. Or like what I need to do, or do I make a tavern first, or in this like dungeon, like what do I do? But having that experience as a player, or even just as a GM, because you find out how your play group, where they go, and everything, and how their mind works, that can also help you in your planning on what you need to detail. And what you need to go after first.
So, it might sound daunting, trying to like detail your world so the players can explore it, like, all right, I need to detail this many NPCs, this many places, blah.
Yeah.
You don't need to be super high-strung about it, You kind of like try and figure out what your players like lean towards in their role play and in the way that they play. Like, okay, they tend to go after like the weirdest looking person in the area, Like, oh, let's go talk to him. Or they tend to go like, okay, every time we go enter a town, we look for the nearest tavern to stay. Mm-hmm. So you can try and like prioritize what you need to plan, which I think is important in your detailing and your planning, because there's so many things that you can spend your time on that might never come into play.
Yes, 100%. Yes, 100%. That's what happened last session. What another thing I'm gonna say is, let's just an exploration. We're kind of talking in regards to location. Is kind of what it seems like. Areas, whether it's a town or a biome or a region or whatever. If you give each of these a strong theme, you're good. Honestly, okay. If they come to a dwarven city, and you figured out that this dwarven city is full of tinkerers. This is the dwarven tinkerer city. And they have made lots of technological advances in the past few years for the rest of the continent or whatever. And they're the ones who invented airships and mechanical messengers or whatever. That's a strong theme in this location. Okay? And you just have to make a couple notes on that, and you're good for improvisation. Okay?
Yeah.
Get a list of dwarven names, okay? Maybe in this city, too, something that's cool is everyone has a title, depending on the accomplishments they've made, the technological accomplishments they've made, okay? So get a list of dwarven names, just a random generate, whatever. Get a list of titles that you come up with, and kind of, cool little funny titles or quirky titles or whatever, that could refer to what this person has done in the past, okay? And get those two lists. Anytime you need to improv an NPC, anytime the player's like, I look around for this kind of person. Or I go to this building that you hadn't really planned because I'm looking for a person or whatever. Pop out that list. Pop out those lists. Cross off some names. Just create the NPC right there. You know it's a dwarven city? Just make him a dwarf, okay? You're improving. You don't have to be cool. Just make him a dwarf. It helps solidify also the theme and the feel of that region or that location. And have them have goggles, and you know what they look like. Maybe they have a waistcoat. Maybe they're riding a mechanical horse, or whatever it is, because you have a strong theme, so you know what you're doing. And once you have that down, you don't need to detail everything. You don't need to detail what the tavern looks like, or what the town hall looks like, or what the blacksmith looks like. Maybe you don't have the time to do that. But if you have a strong theme, you can improv what it's like, because you can assume what a tavern is like. The names of the drinks at the tavern maybe have to do with, like, what's that, WD-40 might be a name of one of the drinks there. That's just a joke. Because no, but just like as a joke because they use oil in their contraptions and stuff. You can just kind of assume from the theme and the concept that you have, so you don't need to detail everything.
Yeah. Also,
Okay,
from a player's
that's my
perspective, like looking
random.
at like a town that you're coming into, if it has a strong theme, then you know like what to expect from the town and what to go after in the town. Like you come to that town, that dwarven city with a bunch of tinkers that they all have titles from the accomplishments that they have. It's like such good strong theme, and from a player's perspective, when they're offered that detail, it's like encouraging for them. Like, okay, I know what's in here. This is what I want to go for. This is what sounds exciting to me. It's easy to latch on to a place, a person, a town, whatever, if they have a strong theme to work off of.
Yeah. Okay, we need to get to players soon. So let me do a drive-through run-through of my other notes here on exploration as a GM. Okay, first thing, enhancing world/immersion. This is what exploration is for, baby. To enhance your world, to immerse players into your world, 100%. Like in my past example that I just made was a perfect example of this. Enhancing your world is by them having them come to this city, and it's all mechanical, and there's airships, and they have factories, and all the dwarves have goggles, and they all have cool titles that are based on the deeds they've done in the past. This enhances the world. This immerses the players in your world, and that's kind of that's one of the purposes of exploration, is to bring them more into this world and make them feel a part of this world and feel like this world is alive. There's a couple ways to do this. One, use your NPCs to do this. Okay, the way they look is a strong one. All right. If you can keep a good, strong theme of what people look like from certain places, that enhances the world, enhances the immersion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Their voices, their accents, right? That can tell you where a character is from. If you come to a region and everyone speaks in a French accent, that helps solidify the players into this area of the world, makes them feel like the world is alive and real, okay?
And makes it more memorable.
Just recently. Exactly. Another thing... that I've just started doing recently. Gossip and rumors, okay? This is real. That's what happens.
People talk.
Yeah, people talk and information is spread. You don't have to figure out exactly how information is spread, but having people go to get into a new village and they go to the tavern and they hear people gossip and rumors. These do not have to be story hooks or plot hooks into any side quest in that place. It can literally this gossip and rumors can literally just be to enhance the world.
Mm-hmm.
And they can be talking about like, hey, so-and-so down there just in this dwarven city, he was trying to make a teleportation device that you go on your wrist, but it blew up, and he got sucked into the nether realm, and he doesn't know how to get out. And, like, that's just what two people are talking about at the tavern. That's not a story hook. That's not a side quest. But it's pulling the players more into the world and making them feel more part of the world when people are, like, talking, and there's rumors. Mm-hmm. And you can also use these as plot hooks as well, and story hooks. Anything you want to say on that? Cool. I'm trying to go as fast as I can so I can get to so we can get to players. Okay. Hey, monsters. Mwah. 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 Monsters are a perfect way to bring your players into the world in their exploration. All right. The biome they're from, the elemental affinity. That's not in regards to one of the 4 elements. I mean, like, if you're underground. They run into underground monsters, yeah?
Yeah.
You're in the forest, you run into forest monsters, okay? They're in a weird place that has been warped by some magical collision or meteor long ago. Maybe the monsters there are weird and mutated or alien-like aberrations, okay? That brings your players into the world, immerses them into that place. Cool. Okay, my next note here. This is something I believe in a lot. Using a random encounter when the party enters a new area, biome, region, whatever it is, to help them understand the location more. Right? Once again, they come into this region that's warped by a weird thing in the past, a magical event in the past. And the random encounter you throw at them has to do with these aberrations, okay? Immediately they understand, we've crossed a boundary, we've entered a new place, and this is what has happened to this place. The creatures here are not like regular creatures. They're weird and alien, okay? Immersion, exploration, cool.
Yeah.
Also, in the same line of... Go ahead.
It doesn't have to be a combat encounter. Like a random encounter could be like you walk into that dwarven city you were talking about, and there's two dwarves scrapping on in the street because one of them's accusing the other of like stealing an invention idea from him or whatever.
Yes. Exactly. Any kind of encounter. You're crossing the threshold on this road into this next region, and you're just passing a bunch of gypsies, partying around a bonfire or whatever. You're like, okay, I understand what's going on here. I know where we are. It doesn't have to be a combat encounter per se. Okay. Other note, in the same line of logic, if you do this a lot in your campaign, when they enter a new region and there's not like a combat encounter or whatever, that can prove to them that this area is mostly safe, bandit free, monster free, or whatever, and that can also inform them, in a way. Okay, cool. Yeah. Next note here: using adventure hooks and side quests to force exploration and world immersion. I already kind of talked about this, but if they come into a village or whatever and they get a side quest, and it points them into the nearby jungle to rescue a villager from a cult ritual by the Yuan Ti living there, forces them to explore the region, explore the jungle, look for this person, learn more about the Yuan Ti, learn more about their cult, whatever it is. Force exploration from that. Okay, anything to say on that?
Just as a DM, as much as you can to force and give your players reasons to just go places in the area that they're at. You know?
Yep.
Give them reasons to explore and walk around. Whether it be to search for someone, or they need to find information. You know, there's so many reasons that you can use, but just give them a reason to see more than where they're literally right at that moment.
Yep. Okay, reward exploration. Alright? If players are going out of their way to learn more about a place, to whatever, reward them for it, okay? Even if you didn't have anything planned at the beginning of that or whatever, because once again, you never know what the players are going to do. Reward players for exploring and for poking their nose around, and for learning more about your world and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
And rewards you can use whatever you want, from a conclusion to a backstory thing to an NPC ally to a magical item, XP, whatever.
Information.
Yeah.
Information is the easiest and the biggest one, because that's something you kind of already have pre-planned. If one of their side quests in this location has to do with slaying a particular monster, from their exploration and them sticking their nose everywhere, you can reward them with information on this monster's weakness or whatever. That's a goodie. Okay. Last note here: use exploration as a bridge between plot points and action scenes. That's kind of what we talked about at the beginning. But that's what you want to do. Same way in a dungeon, you can't have each room have an action combat scene in it. All right. You need those rooms in the dungeon that connect the battles to for puzzles. Whatever. Learn more about the history of the dungeon, or, that kind of stuff. Okay, cool. That's my big quick drive through. Let's go on to the player section.
Through it. Alright, players. How can you use a player, explore, and encourage your fellow players to do so? Alright, so, first I'm going to talk about, from session 0. Talked about it earlier, talked about it now, I think it's really important. From session 0, make it clear to your GM and to your fellow players what you want out of the campaign. If you want to be immersed in the world, first and foremost, and you want to be exploring the world, meeting people, seeing places, make that clear from the beginning that is something that you want, that you prioritize. Because it gives your GM an idea of what they need to plan for, and it gives your fellow players an idea of okay, this is what we can do to make sure that this player has a chance to shine and do what they want to do. Alright, next thing. Before the campaign even begins, work things into your character's backstory, into their personality that gives them a reason to explore, Perhaps they are a collector and they're looking for things, to collect, or perhaps they are a monster hunter and they like finding different types of monsters to hunt and learning more information that gives them a reason to search around the place and ask people for information about the monster that they're going to go find. Perhaps they are someone who's just an avid reader, and every time they go into a city, they go and find the nearest library or something like that. There's so many things you can work into a character's backstory, any type of character, to give them a reason to explore the world more. Alright. Third thing they can do before the campaign even starts is to detail who your character is and their place in the world, so that you know how they react to the world around them. This is really important when you get into the role-playing of exploration, You're going to want to be thinking, okay, this is my character, This is his occupation, his lifestyle, his personality. Here's how he would explore. Here's how he would interact with the things that he comes across while exploring. Here's how he roleplays exploring. It's nice to have an idea of who your character is and their place in the world, so that you know how they should react to the exploring and what they look for.
Okay, so yeah, as Gabe was saying, detailing like who your character is and their backstory and working their character like into the world can help you as a GM, with taking that player into the world and using their backstory and the things that they've set down to help them explore, or like as a story hook or whatever, and just taking that information that they've created for their character that they've shared with you, and using that to help build them into the world. Maybe when they go visit somewhere near their hometown or whatever, in the adventure, you have someone recognize that character and like call them out, and then whatever. That can be cool and can help the exploration aspect, and just kind of help solidify it, and once again, make the players feel like they're a part of the world and immersed in the world.
Yeah, a lot of these things that we're talking about are just ways to service immersion and ways that people can work in this world. That's the thing, like, talking to the GM about what you want, talking to other players about what your character is, figuring out your backstory, giving them reasons to explore, detailing who your character is, and their place in the world are all just ways that you can immerse yourself in the world so that you can enjoy and facilitate exploration.
Yeah.
Alright, moving on. Roleplay. So, I know we were talking about the three pillars of campaigns and roleplay, exploration, and combat. And you're saying like, oh, but we're talking about exploration, not roleplay right now. But I think it's important to talk about roleplay because it comes into play in exploration a lot. As you're walking around and exploring the world, you're going to come across points where you are role-playing with your fellow characters, role-playing with NPCs. So I think it's important to think about roleplay while you're exploring so that you can immerse yourself in the world first and foremost. Because that's like where part of like the true beauty of like exploration comes, is when the players are immersed in the world and feel like they're part of the world. So they talk to the people as a character would in the world, Like that's part of the beauty of D&D. So the thing is important to keep in mind while you're exploring these new places is to figure out, okay, how does my character react to this? All right. Also, while you're role playing as your character, you're going through your normal day, your normal routine, whatever. You're going from combat encounter to role-play encounter, whatever. If you want to explore the world, then you have to take initiative a little bit too, You can't just leave it all up to the DM to force your character and force the party to go and see different places in the world. You can also look for opportunities. Just you yourself look for opportunities and reasons to go and, go from this tavern to the library, go for a walk in the city for whatever. There's a lot of opportunities you can find that fit your character and fit the way that, they react and what they do to just explore different facets of the world, You can take initiative and look for opportunities.
100%. Yeah, and as a GM, there's nothing feels better than your players taking it into their own hands to explore the world and not just waiting for you to force them along and to carry them along. So if you're a player listening to this, help a brother out, help your GM out, and connect with the NPCs that they've created, and connect to your fellow players, and explore the world that they've built, and that they're running, because it feels really good as a GM to kind of just allow yourself to kind of sit back and allow the players to go around of their own initiative and to meet them in that way, instead of having to always push them along and drag them along or whatever.
Yeah. It's just rehash what Shiloh was saying. If you come across an NPC, just try and talk with them, Like come across something that looks interesting, talk with the people around you in the world, talk with your party members when you come to realization or something. Just every opportunity that you can to roleplay what you see and how you experience that and how you react to that every bit that you can like fit in there fits to immersing yourself in the world and to encourage like exploration, and it makes it more interesting.
Yes, sir.
All right. One last thing here. Okay. Work with your fellow players. I already touched on this a little bit with talking to your players, role playing with them to encourage exploration. But I just want to say it again, like work with your fellow players, both like in the game in your role play and like outside of the game. Like you can talk like after your session or whatever and say like, okay, I really liked what we did here. Let's like find a way that we can like do something more like that in the future. So you can work together as a party to do more exploration, to do more interesting things. It's just a good idea to talk to your party, just outside of
Yeah,
character and
for
inside
sure.
of character.
Yeah, and I would just encourage doing everything inside of character if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you
During
have the
the
option
session,
between,
do everything that
yeah,
you can inside of character.
yes, yeah. If you have the option between doing it inside or outside of character, do it inside of character. Yeah, 100%. And taking that initiative, as you were saying, to explore whatever can kind of help everyone else along and kind of push them to do it as well, or whatever. But one example I can give is that in this game that our friend is running, this D&D game that me and Gabe are both playing in. First of all, I gotta say it's great to be playing alongside you because I've never been a player with you before, and so that's been really fun. At least for me, probably hopefully for you as well.
Yeah.
And so we have just kind of role played our characters to like kind of have this kind of funny like relationship. They're both very like big buff characters, and so like they work out together and they stretch together and stuff. And it's kind of a joke in the campaign. But then we kind of that is like kind of building our characters' relationship together as friends and companions. And when we're exploring, like we're commenting on like the stretching or whatever, like we're using those metaphors as well, like while we're exploring and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that, hopefully is making the GM feel better about like the world that he's creating and stuff, and that we're exploring and things like that. I would also love to play with him. I've never also been a player with him before. So yeah, I'm excited to continue this campaign though, for sure. But yeah, okay.
Yeah, before we get to the closing, I just want to like just say again, like exploring is a big part of playing a role-playing game, and it's nothing that you should shy away from. Something you should try and encourage in yourself as a GM, in yourself as a player, and encouraging the people around you, because there's so much to be had there that I think a lot of people miss in their role-playing games. A lot of people just go from combat to, okay, we're talking to the storekeeper, and there's just like not a lot of connection in between. I feel like exploration, because it is so vague and so varied, can get missed and overshadowed by other things in the campaign. Yeah. I think it's important to try and make that a goal, to explore the world and to give your players chances to explore the world.
Mm-hmm. But, even as a GM, like, you can just treat exploration how you feel like it should be treated and how you want to do it, because GMs are different, and there's no right way to GM, per se. For example, the campaign, once again, that I was talking about, that me and Gabe are both playing and that our friend is running, he wants to get to the action, he likes getting to the action, and, of course, he loves exploration and stuff as well, but he'll, like, time skip and stuff, and we'll just, like, that's fine, and we're all okay with that, and that's all cool, and that's the way he's running the game, and it works, and it's fine. But that's different than how, like, Matthew Mercer runs his games, because, like, in, Critical Role or whatever, he goes into lots of detail about every place they go to and where they're going, and he cares a lot about that, and his players are interested in that, and they find that cool and enjoyable. And then they take those seeds that he's planted to do funny or cool role-playing moments or whatever. But there's not a right way to do it. You can do it however you want, and however you feel fitting to how you function as a GM and as a gaming group, and how it fits into your campaign as well.
Yeah.
So we also don't want to be like, change your play style and how you run your game to make it so that like you're really detailed now and you're doing a lot of planning and all this kind of stuff. That's not what we're saying.
Yeah, that's not what we're saying.
We're just trying to help in regards to how you can kind of treat it, or ways to save time or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you guys. Thank you so much for listening to this episode.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good one. This is fun. We had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, we did. We spent so much on like the first 2 points. We had like speed run the last
Yeah.
2/3 of it.
That's our curse. Yeah, me and Gabe can just talk for 2 hours on just like 2 bullet points, seriously, in our outline. Hey, thank you so much for listening. I hope this is helpful. This is honestly one of my most favorite episodes to record. This was really cool.
Yeah,
I felt like
I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah, both of us kind of have a lot of experience in this and stuff, and it's nice to be able to kind of talk about it and have those conversations as well, just with each other.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just reflecting on our own games and things like that.
All right, so before we leave you guys here, just want to make sure that you guys are following our Instagram at D20 Academy. You know the drill. YouTube, we have our episodes uploading there, almost done. We have some exclusive content coming soon, and we have a Discord server where you can ask us questions, see our thoughts on homebrew, this and that, yada 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 yada. A lot of cool things happening there. We got some ideas for the future. Also, upcoming Unwelcome Spirits, talked about this at the beginning. The session 0 will be uploaded by the time this is out, and session 1 will be recorded. Get that out to you guys as soon as possible. We're excited about that. And next week, what are we doing next week?
Guys,
it's finally happening. Sorry for the confusion. We're doing the class spotlight on the wizard. It's our last class spotlight. Man.
All right, and
I'm excited. Wizard school.
Yes.
What?
So it's in the last class spotlight.
Yeah.
But then, to replace it, we have an idea that we will detail later at the end of the next episode.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby.
I'm super excited. Not just to class spotlight the wizard because it's a cool class, and we both have a lot to talk about, I'm sure. But also, our other idea to replace the class spotlights now that we finished. Oh, buddy, I'm excited. It's going to be a good time. So, you can hear more about that next week in our class spotlight. And then next month, when that first episode of that series will be released. Okay. This is a good one. I like this one. Thank you so much for listening.
Hope you guys are all doing well
have
in
a great week.
this tumultuous world.
Stay safe.
Stay safe.
Weird time. Please stay safe. Okay, anything else you have to say?
Play Mystic.
Don't play Mystic.